National Security Analyst Arash Aramesh joins me now live from New York. Arash, very good to speak to you on Sky News again. They're calling this a long and sustained assault, and presumably in that time the US will be hoping to grow this coalition against ISIS.
That's true. This coalition has been built to carry out a series of airstrikes against ISIS and ISIS positions, especially in the Raqqa province, where ISIS has its capital in Raqqa, and also in other parts of Syria, such as Hasaki, and also ultimately to territory near Aleppo, near northern Syria, that is held by ISIS. But again, an aerial campaign is not going to fully and completely defeat an organization like the Islamic State. There has to be ground forces. By ground forces, I mean either allied forces, forces from Arab countries that are now taking part in this air campaign, or forces on the ground, the opposition forces in Syria or the Iraqi military in Iraq that can take action. Just to give you a quick example, in a place like Mosul in Iraq, the second largest city in Iraq that fell into ISIS or Islamic State hands, a lot of there's a lot of support actually from the Sunni population for ISIS. And so ISIS has not felt the need to maintain its presence on the streets, and it's managed to actually melt within the population. That makes this air campaign over the long term a much harder campaign without actually having assets and forces and intelligence on the ground.
It seems that the justification for these airstrikes, particularly in the US at least, has been because of this homegrown terror threat. But do we have any more details about the nature of this of the threat within the United States?
The United States, in comparison to other countries, other Western countries that have had large numbers of jihadi fighters going, join ISIS, is actually in a better position. There are pockets of sort of very small groups of Muslim Americans or American jihadis, some converts, or who have joined ISIS. The estimates are about 100 to 200. No one really knows the actual numbers, but that is just one side of the problem. There are people, much larger numbers of European EU passport holders. The largest numbers have been sent by Britain, from the United Kingdom. The largest sort of per capita has been Belgium and then Denmark. So that's going to be a problem to deal with, because if you have a European Union passport, it can easily enter the United States and vice versa. Also, in terms of the threat of homegrown, that's always going to be there. With every radical ideology, whether it's white supremacist groups or radical Islamist groups, there's always that threat of domestic terrorism. But again, we rely heavily on local support and on local intelligence, and the fact that people of these communities would come forward and help law enforcement and intelligence officials before something bad happens.